Hello and welcome to the Patreon only live stream on today, the 11th of March 2018. Hello everyone, and don't forget to open the chat, open the link in a window and then you can see the chat, and I'll be looking in the chat so you can say things. Alright, hello, yes, and welcome, and thank you to all patrons, new and old. The same link will serve as an archive if you missed the beginning. In fact, you won't be listening to this, so that's no use, and I say this every time. But yeah, the same link is the archive of the live stream, so you can go back and watch it, I guess, if you want to see anything you've missed, or listen to what I say twice. So yes, what's going on? Obviously, we did the big announcement video with the cardboard cutouts, which all subscribers loved. They didn't all love it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any jet engines before they saw the video, and I didn't have any after, so it shouldn't really have impacted anyone. But yeah, there was some good reactions. Next Friday, there's another video which isn't like that, which hasn't got any jokes in, honestly, and it is more of a vlog where I do stuff. So it's got Colin Furze in it, it's got Tinufel in it, and it's got my Portsmouth University hoverbike simulator team in it. So after Tuesday's video goes out with part 1 of building the hoverbike, then on Friday there's like a time capsule from the future where we can see a little bit of what they've done and who they are. So hopefully people keep watching the parts because they can see it's a proper game. So that's what's happening, and that video I'm still editing, and that will be up soon for patrons and going out publicly Friday. So yeah, there we go. More people watch this video than the last time I did a big secret project announcement, so that part's worked and it's still getting views. So yep, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I think is the expression there. So I'm going to talk about some stuff that's going on. New tools. And the schedule roughly as to what's going on in the next few weeks and when the big secret project's coming up. And the control panel thing behind me, I did post some pictures on the wall, is part of the big secret project with another YouTuber who I can't tell you who it is yet. And it's also another brand. In fact, it's eBay again who is sponsoring it. So same as the Star Wars thing. But unlike the one I did with Colin for Star Wars, this is a thing where we're both working on the same thing, and this is the control system. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So I'm just going to go over quickly the schedule of roughly what's going on, and I'm not going to show you my calendar because then you'll know what I'm doing and who it's with. So the rough schedule is, let me just find it, here we go. So we've got the hoverbike, that's coming out on Tuesday, followed by the random vlog on Friday. Then we've got the bat suit, and we'll look at the utility belt in a minute. So that's not for a couple of weeks, I guess. But I need to finish that video off. Bit of editing, but basically I've made it. And then we've got Hoverbike 2 coming out. So we get both of the build. Then we've got the next exosuit video, which is, we'll look at that. I've started building that already because I need to really free up my time to do the big secret project. So I've got part 25 of that will come out, which should be all full functions for all of the control, which is quite good. Then we've got Hoverbike 3, then the week after, which takes us right into the week, Tuesday the 17th, is the first week of the big secret project. And this time we're doing the build videos first, then the big reveal video, which doesn't come out till the start of the first week in May, in fact. So it's pushed, yeah, it's quite big and it's disrupted a lot of things. But it does mean I can get the hoverbike out, which is good because the students are just finishing the project. They need to be formally finished by March, but they're so enthusiastic, they're carrying on, and they want to do more after they've actually formally finished, like taking it to a Comic-Con and things like that. So they've really enjoyed doing that project, which is great. So, and there'll be more on that coming up in part 3 of the hoverbike about that team, and part 4 as well. We did a team night out on Friday night, and I still haven't recovered because they're all half my age, and cocktails are 2 for 1. So that was quite good. But they're very motivated, and they're some of the best students in the year. Final year degree in computer game design and animation, so it's looking pretty good. So that's roughly what's going on. As many videos will go out early for patrons as possible, as early as they can, and I'll give other hints and show you secret things like this thing, which we're going to look more closely at in a minute, even though I can't tell you what it's for. So that's what's happening. So I mentioned the exosuit. So that's the part 25 is going to be in a few weeks, and that's got the sort of control for the arms in, so I should be able to walk around moving my arms and legs, and then I've kind of achieved building a thing that moves when I move. And then I was going to build hands, but actually what I'm going to do is stop for a bit. Obviously I have to anyway, because the big secret project occupies the channel for 3 weeks or whatever. But the main reason for stopping and not carrying on with any more is because I'm getting a CNC machine. So there we go. It's a real one, not a cardboard cutout, honestly. So CNC router parts in the US, so cncrouterparts.com, are giving me a CNC machine that will cut aluminium and obviously wood. It might cut steel if you go slow enough, but they're fairly big looking machines. It comes as a kit, but basically all you have to do is put the pieces together, plug the cables in. You know, you don't have to do any electronics. I guess it's a bit like putting a 3D printer, like a TAS, together. You just bolt the bits together, plug it in, and then it works. And Vectric, which are a UK company who do CNC software, are giving me their software for free. So, or at least the license for free. So that's pretty good. I can cut aluminium parts, which will be really good to make all these giant 3D prints I did on, like the exosuit arms, for instance. It can all be redesigned and minimalized. So 3D printing's definitely got its place. Some parts I build shouldn't be 3D printed. They just are because it's convenient to make them accurately. So cutting them from another material will be pretty good. So before, I mean, I'll get the exosuit functional. That's my control and everything sorted out. But basically, I then want to revisit because the top's got quite heavy, and now the knees have started to bend where they shouldn't. Sort of, they've started to bow a little bit, and you can see that where I've used 8mm studding and bearing blocks made of 3D prints, it's all got a bit wobbly. So I need to kind of revisit and use proper tubes and nice bearing bushings, maybe aluminium ones that I can make. So that'll be quite good. So I don't know whether to redesign the whole thing, in inverted commas, or whether just to go and target specific things, but certainly some of it can be made more minimal. And also want to do more serious robotics, so we'll probably have a stint on Robot X, doing some redesign around the middle of that. Whether I need CNC for that, I don't know, but why not? If I can make things out of plate aluminium that are much more rigid than a huge chunk of 3D print, then that's probably a good idea. So we're definitely revisiting that project, but obviously that won't be happening until after the big secret project, so it won't be at least May. There'll probably be a couple of videos on building the CNC machine and a box to put it in and dust extraction and all of that. So yeah, proper build videos with all the detail, and any robotics build I do will be all of that. I'd also like to do a robotic dog kind of character with 4 legs and work out all of the inverse kinematics, so basically the real-time trigonometry that works out exactly where its legs are, so they don't sort of shuffle on the ground as it moves them, and it can do proper motion. But that's for the future. But that'll be a great one for CNC, even if it's cut out of plywood. It means I can almost do a whole build video, one video that's building the whole structure, another one putting motors in, another one putting control in, instead of 25 videos, because it takes so long to make everything. So it's going to improve efficiency quite a bit, I think. So there we go. So the actual machine I'm getting is 2x2 foot build area. Let me just find a tape measure. I can't find. Oh, there it is. Where I looked in the first place. So it's 2x2 foot. So that's roughly 60 centimeters to anyone in metric square. So pretty big pieces. And the whole footprint of it, I believe, it needs a table 1 meter by 1 meter, which is just over 3 feet. Yeah, so it's going to be a fairly big thing. I don't know where I'm putting it yet. I think it might be in the corner of my lounge where the droids live at the moment. And then it has to be on a big bench, and then it'll have some sort of cover over it, so the house doesn't get full of dirt. So yeah, it should be pretty good. It's obviously 3-axis, so it goes up and down as well. So you can apparently the Vectric software allows you to design a part in Fusion, say a vacuum form buck, and then you put it into Vectric, and that works out how to slice it up into layers you can cut out of thinner bits of wood and put pegs through and put it back together again, and use a ball nose cutter to do all the contours. So I know that Fusion does some CAM stuff, but I haven't looked at it. So they're going to obviously support me through getting up and running with that. So yeah, the reason I don't do any vacuum forming these days is because I can't be bothered to make all the bucks out of wood by hand. But having been able to CNC them opens up a lot of possibilities. So they'll definitely bring not only CNC back, to the channel, but other methods back into the channel that I've used in the past to make things. So it should be quite good. And instead of just 3D printing everything, which is okay, but 3D printing's got its place. So there we go. That's what's happening. But yeah, definitely more robots. There is another robot going on, which I'm going to talk about as well, which is the one I'm working on with Tinufel Cosplay, which is the Legend of Zelda Guardian robot, which is here. But we'll look at that in more detail in a minute. That's a proper robot, sort of. And it's got Tinufel's crafting on it, which is great. So it's going to look amazing because obviously she does cosmetic finishing better than me, and that's the whole point in the collaboration. But yeah, we are doing serious projects. That's the thing, and less messing around. Yeah, the Dyro robot cat. That's I've seen that. It's called Open Cat, but apparently it's not open yet. Or there's some rumor that the guy who invented it wants to monetize it, and we're not really sure if it's actually open. So yeah, I want to make a dog that's bigger than that though, like Big Dog. It won't be as good as Boston Dynamics Big Dog, but it'll have the detail in the series about the maths behind the angles of the legs and everything, in doing the real-time calculations. So it could be good, but that's something better than me. We'll just add a number to this and make it move a little bit more that way. It'll be done properly, hopefully. So that's what's happening. So yeah, the episode 25 of the exosuit before the big secret project goes up will kind of put that to a particular point where it's not finished, but it's got a rounded conclusion before I have a break from it. So that works out quite well. Yes, that's the thing. Still deciding. It looks pretty good, but why not? I mean, you don't have to make things open source. It's just ironic it's called Open Cat. So there you go. So what's happening? The big secret project. Let's have a look at this thing that I've made. So yes, what my role in the big secret project is the control system, which is this, and other things that I can't show you because it'd be obvious what it is. It's also doing the CAD for cosmetics for the thing, which are partly going to be metal, rolled out of sheets of steel, and partly going to be 3D printed. And obviously I'm doing the 3D printed part. So this is the control system. So what we've got, let me just, it's all powered off random batteries, is we've got essentially nodes on a serial network. So the main control panel has its own battery, and it's got a network cable that comes out the back, which is just a Cat5, RJ45 lead. And there's a common serial bus. And then there's more nodes on the network, of which these are 2 of them. So these have got their own batteries as well, largely because they've got relays in and they need some power. So let's plug those in. So the batteries will be neatly tucked inside, and these will be dotted all around the project. So what happens is, got some emergency stops on there. So what happens is there's banks of relays that operate a thing that we're hacking. And hang on. This doesn't actually work. Why don't you work? Oh, the wires come out. Right. There we go. So as I push these levers, you can see these banks of relays come on. I've put LEDs on each one so we can sort of see when they're activated, which is quite special. And that controls another thing that I can't tell you what it is. So that's up and down there. Did I do the other one? Oh no, there's another node needed for that joystick. And there's some other nodes for the buttons, so there'll be various, can't really tell you, but player 1 and player 2 will be different modes, and this will do things, and then this joystick will be kind of mixing all of these together in different modes, so it operates a control of lots of things with one joystick instead of having loads of joysticks. That's about all I can say, really. And then there's many other nodes that fit on. They're all basically attached with, as I say, these just network cables plugged into RJ45s. All of these have got kind of 4 RJ45s on the back, and they can be plugged in any order. So that let's just untwist this. Let's just have a closer look at what's in here. So what we've got, in fact, everything's over twisted pair, and you might be able to see this thing with the red light on is actually a Max 485 driver. So this is a RS485 line driver that takes your UART serial and sends it over twisted pairs reliably up to 1.2 kilometers. We don't need that much. We need about 10 meters at the max on this. And then I'm just using the twisted pairs out of these RJ45 breakouts. And everything's on twisted pairs, so you can just plug them in any order and they all get the data, and then they all strip out the piece of data they want for their particular thing they have to switch. So basically keep adding. There's going to be probably another, let's think, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 more things on the network, the serial network, all plugged in with these RJ45 connectors. And they all get data from the control panel, which is dealing with whatever it is it has to do. And then the nodes pick up the data they need and they turn the thing on or do whatever it is that they do. And that is the control system. And I can't tell you what it does, really. But there you go. That's the biggest hint I can give you. And I'm off to see the other YouTuber this week again. So unplug that. To attach this to the thing and see that the switches work and that they switch the thing. And that's about it, really. That's there's a lot more work that I've done, which is mainly the CAD for the cosmetics, but I definitely can't show you that. So there we go. But yes, it's all bought off eBay, of course, because it's sponsored by eBay again. So that's good. And then there's another, it's one of those feel-good videos with kids in again is the plan at the moment, but I can't tell you much about that either, for the same reason. So there you go. That's all I can say really about that one. But yeah, I've got a lot more to do, and a lot of 3D printing to do for some fairly big chunks. Not quite as big as the 3D printed human, but it's getting there. So there we go. Yes. Oh, let's just quickly look at the chat. Yes. It should be impressive. This should be a really good project, actually. It's a really good person doing it, and it's a really good theme for my channel, at least. It's the sort of thing that people say in comments, oh, why don't you partner with blah, blah, blah to build the thing? So we are now. So there. That's what's happening. I will say there's no jet engines in it, though. That was just a complete red herring. But the cardboard cutout of that person, that's actually the person. That's actually a silhouette of their face taken from a photograph. But there are no jet engines. So there you go. That's the only thing I'll say. Or at least we don't think there are none planned. So that's it. So that's what's going on. Hooray! Right, should we look at the bat belt? Yes, the video. So the serial communication is actually pretty simple. You just get this. You just get a Max 485 and you plug it into your UART and you twisted pair out the other end, and that's it. I'm using Bill Porter's Easy Transfer library again as well on top of that to make sure the data's packed up and it's got a checksum and it's thrown away if it's rubbish at the other end, because it's as you might have gathered, a fairly big thing that we're building, which could be terribly dangerous if it goes wrong. So there we go. I can't tell you who it is. That's their face, though. That's all I can say. Right. Yeah, we still have a project with Colin Furze for Amazon Alexa that I talked about in the last live stream. And that video still hasn't gone out because he hasn't finished his part. He's still got to finish his potato gun, but he did put up a video saying he'd been ill, and that's why he hasn't done anything. Also, he's worried the potato gun's illegal because it's got too much air pressure for a legal air weapon. So he's actually stopped to investigate whether he'll get arrested if he puts it on YouTube. So that's why he also hasn't done part 2 of the potato gun. And then this Amazon Alexa's coming after it. And I don't know when that's going out, but I'll be doing my video on the same Thursday. So there we go. That's what's happening with Colin. But he is in my Friday vlog for about 30 seconds, which was some footage I shot when I was there doing the Alexa thing. And we just thought I'd put that in because it's fun. And some of it's reused, actually. Right, so that's that. Right, the bat belt. What have I done with this bat belt's utility belt? I might have to move some things. Let me move this table. We can get to it. I need the table. I'm going to take all the things off the table and use the table. Let's just unplug all this lot. The Bat utility belt, right? It is yellow because that is yellow NinjaFlex, of course. They don't do any other colours that are suitable, like gold. So let's. What you'll notice is, I mentioned when I did the gauntlets that I've left a space to put electronics. So if I push a particular part of it, you can see there's a little flashing light inside. Where's it gone? So there's some electronics in there and a little switch, and obviously it's flexible NinjaFlex. So in fact, let's take that off there and have a look in the back. So what I've got in my utility belt is the other half. So that's a Bluetooth module. Nope, I didn't want to pull that out. It's quite tough, this stuff. This cheetah is awesome for making custom straps. Right. Yes, in the back there's a LiPo, if I can stop the light reflecting on it, and a Bluetooth module and a switch really like sandwiched in there. So that's what's in there. Let's pop that back. And then I've got various things on my utility belt, which I'm just going to, let's see, try and take off here. It's got various flexible strappy things, which you may or may not be able to see. Let's just turn that round. So this is a piece of NinjaFlex that's popped over the belt, or it's popped over the ab strapping. There we go. Just pull the other one off. Take that off there. Let's pop that on the table. So we've got, yes, the utility belt. Sorry, that's not in shot. What's that? Problem with this is the preview's back to front. You're supposed to be pointing it yourself, so I have real trouble aligning it. Right, so there we go. That's just about in shot. So yes, it's obviously all made of pretty much cheetah and NinjaFlex. So it's flexible. It's got the buckle was going to be the buckle here, and it has got a buckle in the back, but it's really hard to undo there. So I put a buckle in the other end at the back, which is much easier. There's a little bit of a cod plate, which will eventually strap down to the thighs. And then I've got these modules and all of these like pod things on here. Just turn it around. These are all flexible Ninja, and they're fitted onto a cheetah base. So they just kind of unsquidge, and there's 2 bolts at the bottom. Then they open, and this one has batarangs in, and the others haven't got anything, apart from one, which has got electronics in it. If I can stuff that back in. One of them will have my credit cards and money in, but I'm not telling you which one. So, and they're basically pretty much all the same. I've got some flashlights in here, in these ones. Some little flashlights. They do come out. It's a bit hard to get them out, actually. But anyway, just because. And then in this side, we've got some electronics. So this one comes off completely. So if I just squidge that off, that's got the other half of the electronics. So if I power that up, it's got the other half of the Bluetooth module, a LiPo and a 5-volt regulator. So there's a little flashing light. There we go. And if I press my, the other half of this, you should see they start flashing in sync. And now they're paired. So that's all it does. But there's no Arduino in there. There's just a Bluetooth module, which is kind of hidden under there. And what happens, though, there's a state pin that tells you whether it's paired or not. And the state pin changes state when you pair it. So I can use this to turn things on and off, even though there's no Arduino and no data exchange taking place, by literally just turning the Bluetooth module on in the gauntlet there and pairing it. And then it basically turns this pin on, and then I can use this to like start up the bat board or something else. So this one comes off completely. It's got these little things that it clips onto the belt, So that could clip onto any back gadget, and then I could operate it remotely with my gauntlet. So that's the feature there. So there we go. So I've pretty much made it. I've just got to finish the video, which involves putting it all on and leaping around mostly. Also mentioned I'd bulked out the chest a little bit, and I might bulk it out some more. Let's just pop that back on there. So I've stuck some extra pieces in. It might not be that easy to see, but let's see what we can do. We've got a spotlight shining straight at it. Yeah, so in the back of this, there's now this sort of bigger edge piece. So I did have a triangle of Ninjaflex that was tied back with elastic, but now it's actually quite a big chunk that goes all the way around, and it's screwed into the back of these. So that's actually sort of giving it more of a shape there, really, which is, I think, what we needed. It could go bigger and bolder, but we'll see how it goes. So that's what's happened with that. So I think the other criticism was the shoulder bells were a bit pointy, or whatever you want to call those. So if they were restyled, they wouldn't be such a big gap here. So that might be something that happens, but we'll see how we get on printing the legs and how the whole thing looks. And I also put some bumps in my back to hold the cape so it doesn't look like I'm made of nothing. But yeah, so that video is coming up. That'll be, let's think, Tuesday week now. So that should be up for patrons. Is that right? I think it's up for patrons this Thursday. Yes, it is. So there we go, the whole video. Good, so that's what's happening. And then the next one is the legs. And the next one after that is going to be the head and cowl and all of that stuff, which I'm leaving to almost last. It's intended to be a 6-part series. So I'm doing that last because it's quite tricky and I don't want it to be bad. And if there's no... It could take me as long as it takes to get it right. So then there's no sort of expectation about when I have to publish it. That's why I'm doing it last. Right, how are we doing? How do I manage all those 3D printers and SD cards? Yep, I do. I walk up and down the stairs. They're in the room downstairs, or 2 rooms now. And I bring an SD card up and put the file on, take it down and put it in the printer. I do that again. Or I bring 2 at once and put them in 2 printers, depends on what it is. That's it. I've got Octoprint on the Lulzbot Minis, which I don't use very often, but the rest is just SD cards, and I literally put them in an SD reader and take them down. The answer to that. So there we go. The Hacksmith is in Canada. I can confirm that. Right. What's happening with Nintendo Labs? Nothing. I did. We went to a special day that was a preview. It's at London Science Museum. So Tinufel knows some people who work at Nintendo, which is helpful. So yeah, we had a go on it. It's released. I think it was released on April the 18th. They were saying. So not yet. Yeah. So basically, it was a preview, and yeah, it's pretty good. We didn't get to keep it or anything, and they didn't give us a free Switch. But yeah, it's pretty good. But the good thing was we spoke to their media people about the Guardian robot build, which I'll show you in a minute. So they're quite keen on it, and they'll probably get posted on the Nintendo page when we've built it and stuff. So it's quite good to talk to people for publicity. But apart from that, nothing else is going on with Nintendo Labs, or Labo as it's called. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's got this sort of development thing where you can make your own game. So when you get any of the sets, you get the software and you get the garage, which means it's a bit like Scratch but not quite as good, where you can draw lines between blocks and recognize the shape with the IR camera, so you can make a target game that makes one of the handsets buzz, that makes the thing fall over, or whatever you want to do. So I think you can have up to 4 or 8 handsets per Switch. So you could build some sort of remote creatures and have them all control from the thing and decide which inputs and outputs go where and make your own game. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm glad they've done that. There are other features as well, like you can scan a silhouette of the fish in the piano music game, and then it makes a fish that you can colour in the silhouette you drew, and then you can put eyes on it and swim around and then go and fish for it in the fishing game. So there's some other things like that as well. Pretty good. But yeah, not doing any more videos about it as far as I know, unless they want me to. Yes, right. What sounds exhausting? I'm not sure. Maybe just my life. Probably is. Have a lot on. Yeah, so I mentioned the hover bike briefly. Obviously, part 1 comes out on Tuesday, and then it'll be 2 weeks for the next part. Yeah, so we've got on the team, we've got 4 students. We've got 3 final year degree in computer games technology, and 1 who's a final year degree in animation. And they're all really good. They're all like first class students who are hoping to get first class degrees. There's 1 guy doing coding, 2 doing character and scenery design, and 1 doing the animation. So the coding guy's basically got the biggest job there to pretty much stick everything together in Unity. He's had to do with all the physics of how you lean on the bike to turn, what the pedals do. We had to put a twist grip on it so you could vary the speed because they're only switches, which weren't very good. You've got the fans that blow air at you as you go faster in each direction, and the rumble motor as well for crashing and feeling the engine. So, you know, when you sit on it, you look around in VR and you're on this fictional bike, and there's 6 different bikes you can choose. There's sort of characters living in an Ewok, not the Ewok village, that you can shoot and they disintegrate. So they're doing that at the moment. And everything's basically animated. The trees all like breathe like in Avatar, and they're all animated with they use a piece of software called Tree-It to make them. And the whole thing's kind of like this fantasy world. It's somewhere cross between Star Wars and Avatar, I reckon. But they presented sort of character concepts and said, which ones do you want? And I've got to choose some of the characters to go in there. And then they've basically made them in 3D, skinned them and done all the texture maps and everything. And then the animation guys animated them. Then the coding guys brought it into Unity. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty flyable. It was a bit ridiculous in one of the previews I put up for patrons, where when you crashed, it spun you upside down and weird things happened. So that's kind of part 3 is the development, and part 4 they fixed all those issues. So it really is pretty good to just you lean and it steers a bit, and then the pedals steer you sharply. And you've obviously got the speed control as well. So the faster you go, the less tight your turning circle is. So it doesn't make you feel sick anymore. It's pretty natural to just jump on and kind of you can just intuitively fly the thing. So yeah, it's pretty good. And hopefully we'll release it all again at the end of it, so anyone can get hold of it and make their own game and make their own sit-on thing, basically. So yeah, it's pretty good. That's I mean, I'm not having to do too much on that other than go down and film it. So quite glad about that. But yeah, in the process of filming part 4, which will be the potential end of the series, but they sound like they want to keep going. So there'll probably be some more event videos and things about that and the public trying it, which is pretty good. And the university's talking about building a second bike to the same design so they can do 2-player. So there we go. It's gone down pretty well. Everyone else in their final year is envying them for the projects they've got versus the hover bike. So that's pretty good. Yes, so we're quickly going to talk about the exosuit. I'm right in the middle now. There's parts printing for it, but I'll just show you the bits of the arm control that I've done, which is some of it. So the arms kind of screw on or bolt on to those uprights in there. So I've made the arms as separate units that can be removable. And for that reason, see where the camera's pointing. Each arm has its own Arduino. It has its own battery. And it's completely independent from the rest. It takes 5 volts on a USB cable from the main boost pack on the back of the suit that powers the Arduino that controls the legs. But apart from that, they're independent, so I can take them off, and then I can hopefully get the thing downstairs and take it to places, which is why I've done it like that. So what we've got is a potentiometer here that senses that angle there. And then we've got a string tensioning thing that I can't... Let me just turn this round. How easy this is to see. There's a string tensioning thing just here, which works out if the string's slack and pulls the motor up when you lift the elbow. And then there's also another Hall effect slider thing. Just put this down. I get this in shot. Just have to quickly run over and look at the screen. Oh yes, just look down a little bit. Right, about there. It's the other end of the room. I can't see the screen. Yeah, that'll do. Right, so there's this handle you hold on. That's I'm going to stand this side. That's the handle, and then it slides up and down. And there's a kind of like little switcher thing. So if you can just see with these yellow things, is that in shot? And you can sort of see it tries to Move the camera here, maybe that's better. Come on. There. So when you push it down, one goes down, and the other, obviously, when you push it up, the other one flips up, and it sticks in the middle, and then there's two Hall effect sensors. And that works out whether I'm pushing up or down, so I can actually drive the arm. Yeah, so that's what's happening. What I haven't done yet is put actual joint feedback on, so I've still got to put more pots on the actual elbow and on that joint as well, so that it senses when I pull forward on this pot and drives this to a position, and when I drive up and down, it drives this to a position, but also always keeps the string tight. So that's what's happening with that. And then at that point, that should be full functions, hopefully. We'll be able to walk around waving my arms. But yeah, it's, as I say, getting pretty heavy, so the knees are going a bit wobbly sideways, which isn't too good, but it'll be good enough for a test, and then we'll hopefully revisit it with CNC. Will be the plan there, I think, and make some aluminium parts and some proper big tube joints with bearings in. Would be my take on that one. So yes, that's what will happen probably. But we'll probably go and do a stint on Robot X and get that up and running at least the best I can. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it walk properly. You know, Walking Robots is where I started with X Robots, the website, in 2004, and I've kind of got to a position where I can make any part I need, and the rest down to software, and that's probably my limit. So, but whatever happens, I'll publish Robot X as open source, so someone else can have a go, because lots of people have asked for the CAD. Any CAD is available to patrons, by the way, even if it's not public, even if it's not on the patrons download thing. If you want anything, just let me know and I'll send it to you, pretty much. But obviously, I'm not releasing some stuff publicly because I don't want a bunch of questions about stuff, because like not that many questions anyway, because it's not necessarily presented very well at the moment. Yes, so, and also then the Guardian project. So the Guardian, it's the Legends of Zelda Guardian robot. Let me put this bat belt away. Is, whoops. So that series is probably not going out till June, mainly because there's too much other stuff, but also because we're probably taking it to London Film and Comic Con in July. So I think there's going to be 4 or 5 videos. Let's get rid of this table. And at the moment, we're really in the middle of it. So the big sections that I did post pictures for patrons a while ago, there's some big sections that are 3D printed, which should have been interlocking CNC plywood, really, but obviously I don't have the machine. So it's going to be a bit weird when the series goes out and suddenly things are 3D printed when they shouldn't be, and that doesn't make sense. But what we've got is this base, and it's got wheels on that are a bit like tank drive, but they also rotate, so they can go like this, and it swerve steers, and then we've got 2 casters on suspension. So let me just move this chair, and I'll put it down. The whole thing probably could have been CNC plywood, but obviously it's a nice piece of metal now. There's a lot. There's something like 300 T-nuts in there for all of those brackets. Still can't move the camera the right way. Yeah. So obviously what will happen is it's able to drive like an R2-D2 or a tank, where we've got 2 drive wheels, and obviously if they spin like this, it can drive. But then they can both turn, and it can suddenly transition sideways. And if we're lucky, I might be able to actually grab a battery and some leads and put some power on it. Just rotate those wheels. I haven't sorted anything else out yet, but it looks pretty good. So yeah, I did post some close-up pictures for patrons a while ago. If you look back down the Patreon wall, some pictures of the drive and all that. That's all 3D printed. So hopefully you can see the wheels rotate that way, and now it'll just suddenly go this way. So that's good. So they've got a feedback pot, which is attached to the chain with an idler. And they go the other way. They do a complete 180. Yeah, just try and leave them vaguely in the middle. So we can drive in a wiggly line. And then obviously the sections that sit on top, they rotate as well into any angle. So the whole thing will go around randomly, pointing its head and its sort of laser eye thing at people, and then it'll be able to randomly transition and suddenly move towards them. Then all of these things have these big legs on. Obviously, it is on wheels. It doesn't walk on its legs. They're a bit like a sort of octopus thing, but with 6 legs. So they're going to be animatronic legs that I still have to build, hopefully made of something light. But they need to be removable so I can transport it. So this fits in the back of my car like this. And once the legs are on, which come much further out, then obviously it wouldn't. So they're removable, and each one will have its own motor, which operates its leg, and it also has a string that goes all the other way and operates the opposite leg, which means I'm sharing 2 motors with each pair of legs. So there's 6 motors and 6 legs, but each leg's got 2 axes, but it's shared with the opposite leg. Yes. And those are 6 more windscreen wiper motors. But there we go. I'll just quickly show you my drive thing that I did. It's got 3D printed T5 pulleys in. Let's just see if I can. Oh yeah, there we go. You can just about see that. So it's got a brushless motor, the same as the Lego electric skateboard, but I don't need to do 25 miles an hour. So we've got a gear reduction with about a 3-to-1 with 3D printed T5s. And that's mounted on a thing that's mounted on bearings, and it's all made of 6mm studding, so the motor can be slid out to tension it, and the whole thing goes up and down to tension against the wheel. Then the wheel is an off-the-shelf wheel, and that's got another 3D printed T5 attached to the hub, and that's on bearings, so it should make a pretty good drive system, and it should do. I'm running on half the voltage of the skateboards, so we should get about 5 miles an hour, I think, which is going to be quite controllable because the thing's huge, obviously. And it's pretty heavy. We don't want to mow anyone down. Plus, it's got the stick that goes in the middle with all the rotating sections on, and the thing's about 5 or 6 feet tall. So should be pretty good. Yeah, there's a bit of a preview on Friday's vlog about what Tinufel's doing with some of the cosmetics and the foam and that. Not too much, really, but getting on with putting aluminium mesh, foam, and stuff all over the sections and crafting them up nicely. So it should be the same finish as her shield, a Legend of Zelda shield, which is pretty good and all shiny and nice, with loads of LEDs and diffusing foam in it and all sorts of stuff. So each section rotates and it's got its own independent controller. So we have the LEDs and stuff, and the eye will light up and all the things, and it should look pretty awesome. So there we go. So that's the challenge, is to get it done. So basically, though, while the big secret project is going out, that gives me a few weeks to do some stuff on this. Just put this back over here. Makes an excellent sound, like all brushless motors. Ugh. Yeah, and then the only challenge is transporting it to London for the Comic-Con, where apparently it's getting its own special space. So that'll be good. Be a good video. Good event. An event video with a purpose. All right. Ugh. Right, here I am. So that is very much underway. That is all the projects, I think. Good. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with the wheelbase, actually. It's pretty good, but that's because it's got metal in. There are lots of big 3D prints in there, including the main hubs that hold the wheels, but there we go. Another candidate for CNC, probably. But yeah, that'll have to do for now. Oh, it has got suspension as well on each of those casters, so if it goes over a bump, it doesn't get grounded. But yeah, quite happy with it so far. Should be pretty good. Should be pretty robust. So I had a question to answer, which was, somebody asked me, who's my top 5 YouTubers? So you obviously know the Hacksmith and Colin Furze. There's no point in saying them, but some of the good ones that I watch are Captain Disillusion, who does stuff about CGI and special effects and debunking fake videos and stuff like that. And he's quite well presented. He must be computer graphics stroke CGI professional. But yeah, he does quite a lot of good stuff, worth checking out. Captain Disillusion. ClickSpring, if you haven't seen that, which is a machining channel. So there is basically a guy who does very detailed, very good quality video with excellent lighting, stuff with lathing, but also loads of traditional stuff like making drill bits they would have made in Aztec times and all sorts of stuff like that. It's very nice, visually pleasing, they're very well presented. Matthias Wandel, woodworking guy, 1 million subscriber channel, does a lot of stuff with woodwork. I believe he's a German living in Canada, so he's quite good. EEV blog, which is Dave from EEV blog. His channel's about as big as mine, I think. He's another full-time YouTuber. And he is an electronic engineering video blog, so he does teardowns of equipment and shows you what chips are in there and stuff like that. And how, oh, look at all these point-to-point wiring, you know, they didn't plan that properly. Look at all that. It's great. And there used to be a channel called Photonic Induction, but he hasn't uploaded a video for ages, where he did loads of stupid high voltage stuff. I'm a bit worried he's killed himself because he just hasn't published a video for ages. But his house had like special power supplies in for 2000 volts and stuff that he made. So yeah, if anyone knows what's happened to photonic induction and just overpowering things till they pop. Also, this is more than 5. Flight Test, probably seen that, the drone channel. There's a guy called Jamie Mansell, separate channel, Jamie Mansell, who's doing building a fortress on an island in Chile with concrete and no rebar in an earthquake zone, and he's disabled comments on all his videos because everyone criticised him. It hasn't fallen down yet, but yeah, he's been going for a while. He was the giant robot guy who made the giant hexapod in another place he built in the hills in Vermont. And lastly, William Osman, who likes cardboard cutouts, who's actually I'm doing a shout out for in next Friday's video, in my response to the cardboard cutout controversy. So his house burnt down in the California wildfires, and someone started a GoFundMe that raised $100,000. The next video he put up was, "I bought a Tesla," and it's a big. He's standing there with a Tesla car, and then he knocks it down. It's a cardboard cutout. But it turned out it was CGI. It wasn't even a real cardboard cutout, and lots of people criticised him for wasting money on cardboard cutouts. Anyway, obviously, my video is inspired by William Osman, so I thought I should give him a shout out. There we go. Captain Disillusion, yeah, it's an awesome channel actually. It's really well presented, and all his videos have got CGI and stupid stuff in. And he paints half his face silver. It's that guy. Yes. ClickSpring, yeah. Yeah, so most of these channels have got Patreons. Dave from the EV blog, if you're into serious electronic engineering. Debunking solar roadways was a thing he did quite a lot of, and other stuff like that. He gets into all of that. And he's got a second channel as well for unedited stuff. Sometimes those videos do pretty well. They should be channel 1 videos. Right, what else? Ben N Builds, the Thought Emporium. Okay. Yeah, there should be some sort of way of somehow sharing these. Maybe some if you've got channels you watch, post them on the comments to the post on the Patreon wall for the live stream, and we'll have a look at them. That's a good idea, isn't it? Yes. All right. So there we go. I think that's pretty much all I've got actually. So it's we're nearly at an hour. But if anyone's got any questions, then please put them in the chat now, and I'll answer them. But for now, I'm just going to put the bat belt back on Batman while we wait and see if there's any others, because there's about a 15-second delay. So let's pop this back on. Yeah, it feels pretty substantial. It's pretty good. Quite happy with that actually. And all being flexible. Yeah, so the thing I didn't show was the cutouts in the back here, so it can kind of go around your hips. And obviously all the sections are bolted on through the NinjaFlex. So yeah, it's pretty substantial. I think it looks all right. I mean, I just designed it. I didn't copy anything. So I don't know what subscribers will say. But as usual, I'm sure there'll be lots of comments. There we go. Let's pop that back on. Stick those things on. So yeah, it kind of weights down the front of the abs there. which helps counterbalance the weight of the cape on the back, or the cloak, as it should be a cloak, obviously, not a cape. Even though he's called the Caped Crusader, it's a cloak, apparently. Supposed to call it a cape. I call it both in the video, obviously, just for fun. Oh, that'll do. Yeah, all fits pretty well. There'll be improvements as we go, I'm sure. There'll be a few more changes. But yeah, this the armadillo is actually really tough. It's actually quite annoying to print with because you have to go really slow if there's overhangs. But apart from that, it's like the toughest. It's like production plastic. It's pretty good. Don't think I'm going to use it much because it is quite annoying to print for complicated parts. But for parts you want to be tough, like these you could print proper shin pads and someone could kick you, and I'm pretty sure you couldn't break them. So yeah, it's pretty good. All of the legs are going to be done in a similar way, with kind of rigid bits and Ninja Flex or cheetah wrappers and straps, and it's all going to be strapped up and hopefully a bit more bulky. I should have made some of these parts, like the side kidney pieces, should be more bulky really, so it would have probably looked better. But we'll see. We can always make new ones and keep adding to it as we go. Right, got both my hands. Good. Right, are there any questions while I was doing that? Blah, 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 blah. Building channels. I don't know of any other robot building channels. I think I'm pretty unique in that respect. Specifically for robotics, there's a few people who've made robot arms and stuff. And there's a few videos, but there's no one who's really, I don't know. I haven't seen any, really. If anyone knows of any specific robotics channels, they're actual channels that make videos every week. There's plenty of universities, and obviously Boston Dynamics have got their YouTube stuff, but don't know of anyone who's like me, I guess. I think that's quite unique. Right, what version of Cura? I'm using 2108 still. I think that's what it is anyway. The latest Lulzbot Cura before, 2108, before they went on to the next version. And I haven't used the next one yet. Basically, I just haven't had time to do anything on it. And the old one works. And that's what I've been using. So yeah, and the current firmware for the TAS is that comes with that version. That's basically it. Yeah. A series on building a RepRap printer. I haven't planned to because I've never built a printer. And there's quite a lot of instructions out there, I guess. So yeah, I haven't really planned to. Haven't really got any reason to build one. Got enough printers. I mean, technically, Lulzbots are RepRaps, but obviously, I haven't built them. So there we go. Yes. So if you like robots, then the big secret project might be something like that, but I can't really say anymore. It's definitely got robotic aspects, as you can probably tell from the control system. It's definitely got things that move in it. That's all I'm saying. That's too much information. So that's going to be quite a good project. It's got a very good theme. And it's still got, robotic control stuff in it, like feedback pots on pieces of it, maybe. But that's too much information. So there we go. All right, I think that's the end. Unless anyone's got anything else. All right, well, I'll leave the chat open for 5 minutes if anyone has got anything else. Or you can just message me on Patreon and just ask me questions. Cape is for fashion, the cloak is for function. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so I think that somebody said the cloak is to disguise Batman, to disguise his shape, to be in stealth. So that's probably it. But there we go. Guess it depends on the... And it should come over the shoulders at the front for that reason, rather than just be hung on the back. But anyway. Cloak have a hood. I guess Batman doesn't really need a hood because he's got a hood. And it's kind of, in some of them, is sort of goes up into the cowl, doesn't it? So, yeah, anyway. There we go, Batman trivia. All right, goodbye.